Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. In this session of the webinar, we are going to take a look at some important teachings of Brihadāranyaka Upanishad. This Upanishad is one of the 10 major Upanishads on which Adi Shankaracharya wrote his commentaries, and this Upanishad, being relatively much larger than all the other Upanishads, is rightly called Brihadāranyaka Upanishad. Aranyaka comes from the word Aranya. On one hand, people with adequate detachment would withdraw from worldly activities, and whether they go to a forest literally or not, they live in a certain way as though they are in a forest. Aranya. Or symbolically again, it need not be literally going to the forest. Aranya represents a certain atmosphere where you are with nature and not into worldly activities of earning, spending, etc. One last meaning that we may share here of Aranya, as scholars put it, is Rana means war. Rananiti is a war strategy, and Arana leading to Aranya is where there is no war. We are not talking about outer war, we are talking about inner war. Aranya is that wisdom in the light of which all inner conflicts go away. Brihadāranyaka Upanishad, running into 6 chapters, has lots of valuable teachings. They are interspersed with some mention of karma and upasanas. Otherwise, starting from first chapter all the way till the 6th chapter, the Upanishad has quite a lot of sprinkling of the highest wisdom of the purest self-knowledge. Many famous mantras which are quoted by a lot of speakers on the Vedānta, whether they have studied Brihadāranyaka or not, are from this major Upanishad. There are several teachers coming in here, several students, several stories, several illustrative settings. This is quite a bulk of material. On one hand, sometimes we say, well, even the basic Isha, Kena, Kata, Mundaka are enough. Everything is said there. In a sense, yes. We don't stress that everybody should go on reading more and more scriptures, for in a sense, it's not the quantity, but it is the quality. It's not the number of mantras or number of texts, but how sincerely and deeply we go in. But in another sense, Brihadāranyaka Upanishad is something that is highly worth studying. It is just like if there is a bright student who is very sincere and goes to a good college in Delhi or Chennai, Bombay or Bangalore, a good college, he will pick up very good knowledge. But that doesn't mean that the prestigious universities, prestigious institutions of learning with some world ranking and so on are not important at all. For example, if it is engineering, if somebody goes to an IIT, somebody goes to BITS Pilani, somebody goes to some other reputed, we have Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore, certainly it has tremendous value. Like that, if somebody can study Brihadāranyaka Upanishad, as we sometimes use a phrase, other factors remaining equal, if someone were to take up a deep study of Brihadāranyaka Upanishad with the Shankara's commentary, it is just amazing. Lots of deep insights are presented here, and with Shankaracharya to throw light on those hidden meanings, it is a great treat, an extraordinary treat to the Vedanta student. Take, for example, the very first mantra we quoted in the synopsis also, Asatoma Sadgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. The translation goes, O Lord, please lead me from the false to the true, from darkness to light, and from death to immortality. Leave alone commentaries by the Acharyas. In this particular case, the Upanishad itself says, really speaking, it is the third line, Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya, which has a bearing on the first and second lines also. The Moola mantras of the Upanishad itself says, Asat is death and Sat is immortality. Therefore, even the statement Asatoma Sadgamaya boils down to the prayer Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Likewise, from darkness to light also is no other than death to immortality. Therefore, the three lines can be squeezed into just one line, which is conquering death and attaining immortality. Amritattva. No wonder in the second chapter of the Brihadāranyaka, Maitreyi, the elderly wife of Yājnavalkya, asks, can all this wealth give me Amritattva? Yājnavalkya leaves behind quite a lot of property to his two wives, Maitreyi and Katyayani. And Maitreyi, the older one among the two, is very mature, not just by age, but by her own understanding. She stops him. Before you leave, tell me one thing. Will all this wealth give me immortality? And we will come to that later. Right away, in the very first chapter, third Brahmana, we have Asatoma Sadgamaya, merging into Mrityorma Amritangamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, merging into Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. It is all about Amrita. No wonder there is a separate minor Upanishad, Amrita Bindu Upanishad. We live in fear, fear is death. We live in incompleteness, incompleteness is death. We live in cowardice, cowardice is death. We live in hypocrisy, that is death. Ending of all these, of fear, of hypocrisy, of cowardice, of ignorance, all these are like death, and immortality is freedom from fear, freedom from insecurity, freedom from hypocrisy, freedom from cowardice, freedom from all kinds of incompleteness, or as we began, it is freedom from conflict. One lives in total openness. As all of us know, that is easier said than done. But that is what Upanishadic wisdom is all about. It is to bring to us ending of conflict. The Upanishad has the Shanti mantra, Purnamadaha Purnamidam. Ishavasya also has that Shanti mantra, but Brihadāranyaka Upanishad has Purnamadaha Purnamidam coming not only as Shanti mantra in the beginning and Shanti mantra at the end, but also in the middle. And that is commented upon by Shankaracharya also. Now, going to a second example, we have right in the first chapter itself, fourth Brahmana. Please note the word Brahmana has many meanings. And in some of the Upanishads, like Brihadāranyaka, sections are referred to as Brahmanas. It has nothing to do with the Brahmana Varna or other meanings of related to Brahma, Chaturmukha Brahma, etc. Brahmana is like Khanda, a section. Interestingly, the entire Brihadāranyaka Upanishad is part of a much larger Brahmana, again a Vedic portion, and that is called Shatapatha Brahmana. We have one Shatapatha Brahmana, a huge portion of Shukla Yajurveda, and in that Shatapatha Brahmana is found this Brihadāranyaka Upanishad. In it there are 6 chapters, and each chapter has certain Brahmanas. So when I refer to 4th Brahmana, please note it is like the 4th section. In the 4th section of the very first chapter, we have the Mahavakya, Aham Brahmasmi. There is a line, Brahmava idamagra asit, tad atmanam eva avet, Aham Brahmasmi iti. Brahma alone was, nothing else was, and Brahma knows itself, Aham Brahma. And since Brahma alone was, and Brahma alone is, we all, though we don't know it, are one with Brahma. Therefore, this Aham Brahmasmi applies to every jiva, but the jiva is with ignorance. That's another topic altogether. Ignorance is not to be conceived as something which causes the jiva as though at a later point of time or at a later point of space, etc. Ignorance and jiva bhava together are seen. When ignorance ends, jiva bhava goes away. Ignorance, avidya, and jiva bhava are co-eval. C-O-E-V-A-L. They together occur. Therefore, it is not that we have ignorance, like somebody says, I have an umbrella with me. In the case of somebody having an umbrella, he is not the umbrella. But in the case of this jiva having ignorance, you cannot divide ignorance and jiva. And really, that's a very involved topic. We will not go into it now. There is an avidya bhumi, a frame of reference where there is ignorance. And then right there, without going anywhere, without going to another point of time, right there and right then, or to be more precise, here and now, if you were to see the Vidya Bhumi, in that right seeing, with no other work, with no other karma phala happening there, no upasana phala happening there, just by that jnana, avidya bhumi disappears and you know aham brahmasmi. So Brihadāranyaka Upanishad is the source of one of the 4 very well known Mahavakyas. Mahavakyas are hundreds, but therefore we carefully said the 4 well known Mahavakyas are Aham Brahmasmi, Prajnanam Brahma, Tattvamasi, and Ayamatma Brahma. Aham Brahmasmi appears in this Brihadāranyaka Upanishad. We go now to yet another example. These are taken, I must admit, somewhat randomly. I am not saying the 6 or 7 examples I am sharing with you in this introductory session to Brihadāranyaka Upanishad are superior to other examples. I am not claiming that way. Somewhat randomly they have been taken. In fact, there are some other examples, some other takeaways, which I shall be taking in the second, third, or fourth part of this series. I propose to present 4 parts on Brihadāranyaka Upanishad, a 4-part series, I mean. So, the third illustration, after Asatoma Sadgamaya and Aham Brahmasmi, we have a story as well as a wonderful teaching. The story is about a Brahmin, as we have someone from the upper Varna, upper caste, who is by lineage, by being born in that family where his father, his grandfather, his grandfather's father were all Vedic scholars. This Balaki, his name, Balaki, he is also called Gārgya because he is from the Gotra of Garga. Balakihi, Gārgyaha, and because he sets off with some arrogance that I am from such a family, for generations we have been Vedic scholars. He starts off with some arrogance. He is called Drupta Balaki. In fact, the section, or for that matter, the second chapter itself of Brihadāranyaka Upanishad starts Drupta Balakihi ha anuchanaha Gārgyaha asa. There was this Drupta. You know the word Darpa. Darpa means pride. Drupta is the adjective form of it. And he goes to the king of Kashi, Kashyam Ajatashatrum. Gatva, he goes there and says, I shall teach you Brahman, the supreme truth. And in the dialogue that follows, Balaki, poor fellow, finds out that the king knows better. The Kshatriya, the king of the country, happens to know more than this Brahmana. Going by convention, going by custom, the king had made Balaki sit on a high seat, and the king himself had sat on a lower seat. But after a while, Balaki confesses, O king, I came to teach you, but now it is evident that I have to learn from you. So let us change our seats. Let me quote one mantra here. Ajatashatru, the king, smiles. Smilingly he says, Oh, what is happening? Sahovacha Ajatashatruhu Pratilomam Chaitad Brahmanaha Kshatriyam Upeyad Brahmame Vakshyatiti Vyevatvad Napaishyamiti. So Pratiloma. Anuloma means in right sequence. Pratiloma means upside down. So how strange, how interesting that you have to learn from me now. Whatever it is, that is how it proceeds. And Ajatashatru then teaches Balaki, the Brahmana, about Brahma. And there are some very involved discussions. We will take it up in one of the subsequent sections. There is a discussion on the nature of deep sleep. Someone fast asleep, what he sees, what is the state of his consciousness? Has he gone to deep sleep, or should we look at it in a different way? Whether the man in deep sleep or you and I in deep sleep, do we go to deep sleep, or we don't go anywhere, we don't come from anywhere? Waking dream and deep sleep appear upon us and disappear. That could be another outlook. So when we take it up in greater detail, we shall show that the truth of the Vedanta is how we put it in the second situation. We are Brahma, and Brahma appears in these three forms. And it's not that there is someone who is going from here to there and there to somewhere. For that is a concept, because we are so attached to our waking individuality. We are so anchored to our name, to our form, to our relationships in this waking world. No wonder Maharshi Ramana asks us to question this sense of I am this, I am that, because following or proceeding from that strong identification with this individuality in the waking state, we think of going to deep sleep and coming back, going to dream and coming back, and we put the waking ego on a high pedestal. That actually is to be totally questioned. That's what I said. It's very involved. We'll go into it another time. Now I take you to three instances of the great sage Yājnavalkya. Three instances of Yājnavalkya teaching either King Janaka himself or his own wife Maitreyi, to which we made a reference already, or on another occasion it is, according to certain versions, quite an elderly lady, Gārgi. Though some people say it was a young lady. In fact, some time back on Doordarshan, there was a series every Sunday morning, Upanishad Ganga. There they show Gārgi as fairly young person, young lady, who seeks permission of her father to go and take part in a conference where great Vedic scholars had gathered. But the orthodox view is, whether it is Maitreyi or Gārgi or any other, these ladies typically were much older, very mature, and had seen enough of life, etc. So that's totally another issue, because the orthodoxy would generally look at young women as being much involved in the world. Older women will have vairagya. That is the orthodox view. The liberal view is maturity or vairagya has nothing to do with age. A 10-year-old girl could be far more mature than a 75-year-old man who might have a lot of bookish knowledge. Therefore, the liberal view dismisses such interpretation that Gārgi was a very old lady. So that's another issue altogether. This issue of gender, of caste, of so many other issues. Now let us concern ourselves with the wisdom. Going to this Maitreyi and Yājnavalkya Samvada, there are many aspects to it. One of them I already mentioned, that Maitreyi asks Yājnavalkya, does all this wealth give me conquest of death? And he dismisses it. Amritatvasya na asha asti is a line in the particular section. We have that coming up in the second chapter, 4th Brahmana. Maitreyi iti hovacha Yājnavalkya udyasyanva are ahamasmat sthanadasmi. I am going to take sannyas. I am going, leaving everything. That's how the section begins. But now there is, for this session, let me point out a very interesting section in the dialogue where Yājnavalkya says, in life, we seem to love wealth, or a man seems to love his wife, or the wife seems to love her husband like anything, or a man or his wife, they They simply love their son, their daughter. So, 100 things. Somebody may love his car, somebody may love her house. So, whatever it is, when does something become dear to us? The Sanskrit word is priyam. Griham priyam bhavati. Patni priya bhavati. Patihi priyaha bhavati. We find this. Some people are fond of travel. Some people are fond of gadgets. Endlessly, there are objects. But in this section, let me highlight the main sentence. In fact, there are some 10 case studies, and at the end of it all, Yājnavalkya says, yeah. Okay, 1 minute. Excuse me. Anything, everything doesn't become dear to us by its own virtue. Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. This is what he says. Atmanastu kamaya. Kamaya here, as Shankaracharya puts it, is prayojanaya. It is for our use. When wife or husband, son or car, house or some wealth, anything is serving some purpose of our own, then we love that object, love that person. When that person or that object is no more serving our purpose, our prayojana, then we don't like that. What was priya before is not priya anymore. So, atmanastu kamaya, atmanastu prayojanaya, for our own sake, we actually love wife or husband or son or daughter or so on. Atmanastu kamaya. And generally, we mistake ourselves to be this personality. First, if we realize that love is centered in ourselves, then the next step can be taken. Who is this ourselves? Who am I? What's my true nature? In this way, we can move inward. Once more, we come to Ramana's Koham. Who am I? So that is Yājnavalkya Maitreyi Samvada. And it is in that section only, soon after pointing out that certain confusion makes us fall in love with people or objects. As there is vairagya, as there is greater clarity, we become very curious to know who we are. And in order to know who we are in its depth, Atmava are shrotavyaha, mantavyaha, nididhyasitavyaha. The scriptural basis for Shravana, Manana and Nididhyasana comes right here in the Brihadāranyaka Upanishad. Then you have the Samvada, one more scintillating Samvada between King Janaka and Yājnavalkya. In fact, there are several dialogues. I am highlighting one of them. In the 4th chapter, 3rd Brahmana, that Brahmana is named Jyotir Brahmana. Because the discussion revolves around what is the ultimate Jyoti? What is the ultimate light? And it is here, let me read one mantra for your reference. When the sun, who is a source of light, sets, when the moon also is not seen in the sky, Chandra is another source of light. No fire around and no sound, hearing which we could get a sense of direction. Then, when no such sun or moon, fire or sound or smell, all these are implied, are there, How does one know? That is expressed here, the 4th chapter, 3rd Brahmana and 6th mantra. Astamite aditye Yājnavalkya Chandramasi astamite Shante agnau Shantayam vachi Kim jyotihi. This is Janaka's question. Then Yājnavalkya says, yeah, now you have come to the point. When all these apparent sources of light is knowledge here, apparent sources of knowledge are not to be seen, then Purusha eva atra jyotihi. Our true self, our true nature, Purusha eva ayam jyotihi. Asya jyotir bhavati. Atmana eva ayam jyotisha aste. This is how Vedanta makes us realize that we don't depend really on the universe. The universe appears and disappears in us when we realize our true nature. It is by the light within us, it is by the light which we are, that we exist, that we move, we go, we do things, we go, we return. All this is said here. So this is called Jyotir Brahmana. And then, as I mentioned, there is a portion where you have Gārgi engaging Yājnavalkya. Many other scholars talk to Yājnavalkya, ask him questions. Then appears this lady. Everybody is surprised. Who is this? A lady coming in. Gārgi says, may I ask a question? And Yājnavalkya welcomes her. Yes, why not? So Yājnavalkya answers several queries of Gārgi, but of all of them, there is the famous, much quoted line. Yājnavalkya points to that imperishable truth and highlights the value of knowing that imperishable truth. The much quoted line is, Yova etadaksharam Gārgi aviditva asmin loke juhoti yajate tapastapyate, and so on. Whoever, in fact, the next sentence, etadaksharam Gārgi aviditva, not knowing this imperishable truth, asmat lokat praiti, one ends one's life and moves on, sa kripanaha. Kripanaha means pitiable. Kripayaha patram. You have to pity that fellow. All of us will be pitiable even if we live 100 years, but we don't know that imperishable Akshara Tattva, we are pitiable. Life is a waste if we don't gain that highest self-knowledge. This is the famous portion of Gārgi and Yājnavalkya Samvada. Then quickly let me mention at another place or another instance, Yājnavalkya says to Janaka that famous line, Neti Neti. A lot of discussion, a lot of visualization, a lot of conceptualization, lot of uha and apoha are all part of Vedantic study, but at the height of it all, there is such powerful and intense negation of all that is conceivable, all that is visualizable, all that has any boundary, any description. And when there is negation of that, that is when a person, man or lady, the seeker, realizes the truth. There is this famous line. In fact, it appears 2 or 3 places in Brihadāranyaka. I am quoting it from chapter 4, section 3. That says, Sa esha neti neti atma agrahyaha nahi grahyate ashiryaha nahi shiryate asangaha nahi sajjate. There is something that breaks not, that gets not attached, that does not grieve, that cannot be grasped. There's a number of not. And that's another highlight of the Brihadāranyaka Upanishad. Last but not the least, for this session, we talk about a very, very interesting story that comes in 5th chapter. I told you there are 6 chapters, and this is in the 5th chapter, where we have gods, that is Devatas, the citizens of heaven, and human beings, secondly, and Asuras, demons. All 3 of them go to Prajāpati, the supreme creator, and they just ask, give us some spiritual advice. And he just utters one syllable, that's all. And then they reflect on it. And that single syllable, that monosyllable, to suras, that is gods, means dhamyata. Restrain yourself. Heaven has a lot of pleasures. Because pleasures are available, we are not to just indulge in them endlessly. Dhamyata. Human beings tend to be greedy. Share your wealth. Datta, give. And demons, many a time, without even reason, inflict pain. No, they should develop compassion. Dayadhvam. So one standing for Dhamyata, Datta, and Dayadhvam. Restrain yourself as applicable to suras, gods. Give and share as applicable to human beings. And be compassionate. Care for others as applicable to demons. From another angle of view, every one of us has that pleasure drive, that urge to keep everything to ourselves, and the urge to inflict or injure somebody. There is a sura, there is a manava, there is a danava within every one of us. So all these 3, dhamyata, datta, dayadhvam, apply to every one of us too. In this way, the story in the 5th chapter has a lot of significance. T.S. Eliot, Nobel Prize winner for literature, was deeply touched by this story. So he wrote a piece in one of his great works, I guess, The Wasteland, where he called that particular portion, titled it, Thus Spake Thunder. Because at the end of that section, thunder, lightning and thunder also say this, Dhamyata, Datta, Dayadhvam, emerging from that comes from the clouds as thunder. So T.S. Eliot called it, Thus Spake Thunder. This way, we have in this introductory session touched upon some takeaways, but each of them needs to be engaged, needs to be dealt with in greater depth, which we propose to do in 3 more sessions on the same general theme of Brihadāranyaka Upanishad. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. All right. So we have somebody here. Let me begin with Ranjan Desai. Yes, Ranjan.
Namaskar, Swamiji. It was a very, very good webinar again. Once more, I really enjoyed it. I just want to ask you about the next 3 sessions. Can you just give a brief introduction of what you would be covering the next 3 sessions? This one was really good. I enjoyed it.
In the second part, I will take Yājnavalkya Maitreyi Samvada. And in fact, Yājnavalkya is of very special interest to me. In the third part, I will take Jyotir Brahmana. that is the light of all lights, because it's not just poetry, it has tremendous meaning, how we are of the nature of pure consciousness, that prajna, that chidrupa is highlighted. And then of course the fourth section will be primarily on neti. But though it will be this way, Maitreyi Yājnavalkya Samvada, then Janaka Yājnavalkya Samvada, that is Jyotir Brahmana, and last is again neti, once more Yājnavalkya Janaka. A few from other portions will be connected to them.
Oh. Thank you.
Actually, it's not that with 4 sessions it will end. We will have to come back to Brihadāranyaka time and again. Okay. So there will be sessions beyond 4 also.
Oh.
But it's one set of 4 webinars. All right. So we go to Dayanand, who has asked a question by writing the question. So that question is, negation of everything that is conceivable. Dayanand from Los Angeles asks, negation of everything that is conceivable, visualizable, this will make one discover oneself. If we see a person doing selfless service, I think Dayanand's question was, he had no question really, he has said pranams and so on. Namaste, Dayanand. So the question which I am reading now is by Sachin Chauhan, and that is, negation of everything will make one discover oneself. If we see a person doing selfless service to the society like charity, negating this will not help one to discover self or ultimate light. How do we resolve this conflict? Well, beautiful question. So we don't refer to negating outwardly. So see, in Vedanta we repeatedly say karma, including social service, is not a means to realization, but karma is not, it doesn't come in the way also. So in selfless service, the person, doesn't slowly gives up his doership. So examples like King Janaka are given. They remained in the field of activity, but because of their satsangs, they had heard enough. They let go of the sense of I am doing. Therefore, it is not the outer or outward giving up. That depends on people's samskaras. Your past impressions, suppose, are very strong, then you might be active in the world. And some other people don't have such sanskaras, they may sit quietly. So you have Ramakrishna sitting quietly, Vivekananda going all around, Tapovan sitting quietly in the Himalayas, Chinmayananda going all around. So the outer activity or outwardly sitting quietly are a different story altogether. Therefore, there is no conflict at all, because the main question is whether you are going around and serving the society or are sitting quietly at one place, hardly speaking, etc. Either way, the main question is, do you have a sense of, I am this personality, I am doing this. Yesterday I did a lot of good work. Today I haven't been able to do much. These are all, thought-created egoism. So there is no conflict once one goes into the essence. It is the inward dismissal of doership, enjoyership that makes all the difference. What is the meaning of Brahat? Somebody is asking. I am hearing some other voices here. Somebody's mic was on, I think. Okay. So what is the meaning of Brahat? A.R. Ganti has asked. Brahat means big. Brahat means huge. Therefore, Brihadāranyaka Upanishad. This is a huge, long discussion of many people, teachers and students, and so on. Now, I think the same question continue. No, this is question by, okay, another person, Vijay Lakshmi. All right, Vijay Lakshmi asks, it's listening to gurus like you that people like me can move from this extreme darkness towards a place where there is light, where there is slight light. Okay. I must be really very grateful to you for this great contribution. Now, I want to know whether denial of everything means there is no final truth. It doesn't mean that. The final truth is arrived at by denying what thought conceives. We make a distinction between awareness and thought. Thought, thinking, creates judgments. I am good, I am bad. Materially or spiritually, I am behind or I am advanced. I am better than him, but not as good as her. All these are creation of thought. Our society, as you know well, is so much caught in competition, comparison. So comparison and competition are the fundamental mischief of thought. So denial of everything means denial of all that is created by thought, and final truth is pure awareness. So one intuitively sees, I am pure awareness, I am the truth. So there's one more question now by Ganti. Not directly related to our topic today. Is idam in dharma moolam, dhana moolam idam jagat? What is the full meaning of this quote? Oh, that dhana moolam idam jagat, probably from Mahabharata or somewhere. That is on a lower level. In the Vyavahara Bhumi, when you and I are into administration, you and I are handling some responsibilities of the family or of the society, we are handling, as the expression goes, men, money and matters. We are handling people, we are handling money, we are handling land, we are handling legal issues. So, on a lower level, this doesn't contradict the Vedantic wisdom, but seeing things on a level that is one notch below that highest truth, we find what a major role money plays. Dhana moola vidam jagat. Money, Like they say, until Vivekananda went to the prosperous United States, people didn't care much for him in India. He makes not just a visit, many people visited that time also. He visits USA, and in Chicago, he shines. He is on all newspapers. Lots of Americans at different parts of United States, surround him. He becomes a hero, and then he comes back to India. He gets a roaring welcome. Why? Because United States that time also was a rich country. Today also is a very rich country. Therefore, dhanamulam idam jagat. So it is said on one notch below, and therefore we should not take it too much to our heart. We should use it at the proper context. As we get vairagya, these things should not even be thought of, should be just thrown away. So we have another question by Manoj Chandrasekharan from Bombay. Namaskaram Swamiji, good session. Thank you very much, refreshing my memories. Okay, that again is some compliments, some comments. Now let me quickly see whether someone has raised a hand to ask a question verbally, orally? Not really.
Swamiji, Hemlata Limaya has raised the hand.
Raised her hand.
Hari Om.
Yes, I can now see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Please, yes.
Yeah, Hari Om Swamiji. My
Hari
name
Om,
is Hemlata. You might not realize. I'm Rani. The
of
reason
course,
I'm
I
asking
know,
is
yeah.
I have a very, the question is Atmavastu Kamaya Sarvam Priyam Bhavati. So we always love with a prayojan. Is there always a selfish reason that we love somebody because we probably get energy from that, or for whatever reason that our hetu is, satisfied? So is
Yeah.
there something as a unselfish love, the love that we talk about at a higher level, the love for the God? But there also we're seeking peace or, happiness.
Correct.
So how does one, separate this out? Every time we love, there is a reason.
Right.
Is that what it is? Is that how it works?
Right. It is like this. In both selfish love and in selfless love, the center is the self, oneself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, what is the difference? In selfish love, the person visualizes oneself or himself as that personality. Whereas in selfless love, the person's understanding about who he is goes through a dramatic change. So, the self is the center in both cases. The pure-hearted person doesn't look at himself in any narrow sense of I am from this community, or I am a man or male, or I am a white man or a black man, I am an Asian or an American. No such limited idea puts a boundary upon his sense of who he is. He relates to people, and there's a very poetic manner Upanishads themselves say. He sees himself in them, and he sees them in himself. Therefore, these distinctions of white and black, male and female, old or young, rich or poor, educated or illiterate, those 1,000 ways in which we draw dividing lines disappear, and therefore what happens is the self, which is the center, is an all-inclusive self in the case of what is normally called selfless love. What is normally called selfless love has the self which is all-inclusive. What is selfish love has the self which is very, very limited. So it is all understanding. You can take the example of somebody like Mahatma Gandhi. Now for him, Hindus, Muslims, all of them surrounding him were equal. And he saw himself in all of them. All of them were equal to him. All of them were as though like him only. Whereas somebody who has some bias would make a dividing line. So to the extent you take the so-called others as not really others, in a sense you are in them and they are in you, then though you are like before, you are anchored in the self that you are is so vast, so pervasive, or so inclusive. Therefore, the initial position doesn't change. The definition of the self changes, which is a deeper understanding. Outwardly, a brown-skinned person will not have multiple colors. He continues to be brown-skinned, but his mind doesn't make an issue of the brown skin. So it is all in the mind.
So does it mean that being surrender or being one with the universal mind, or or
those
not
are
having
the
any conditionings? That's
exactly.
how we separate it out. Yeah.
Exactly. These are multiple ways of describing it. Yeah.
Thank you
So
very much.
somebody who is not comfortable with the Advaita Vedanta's language may say seeing Krishna in all and seeing all in Krishna. seeing oneself in Krishna, seeing Krishna in oneself. So it becomes Krishna oriented. That's just a different language.
Thank you, Swami.
Oh, welcome. Always pleasure. Right. With that, I guess, more or less.
I'd just like to add one more thing, Swamiji. The Ranjan Desai here.
Yeah, yes, Ranjan.
Yeah. So actually, the other person who just asked the question, I think the first example that you gave also applies here, where you said as long as the other person who's you gave a first example where you said the person who's not needing the thing, like I'm sorry, I'm not able to explain the first example that I gave, where you said in this same webinar today, you said, yeah, the person who doesn't need anything, like he just, I'm sorry, I'm not able to express that. Can you first example that you gave? Where he said,
maybe I talked of the illumined person who knows that all happiness is within himself.
Yeah,
because ignorant person.
The first example that you gave today, in the webinar today, you said that it's like the person doesn't need that, right? I mean,
I think, are you talking of the first mantra example I gave? That was Asatoma Sadgamaya.
No, maybe the next one, where you said that. Yeah, the other one just was asking about if love for super for like what's the difference between the love for the for somebody else, or everybody else, right? So, and as long as you don't need the person, like if the person is helping you or something, you don't love that person. I mean, you love it for other reasons. That example.
In fact, I used now I remember, I used the expression, as long as he serves my purpose.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Like my son is obedient, helps me in all my work, I love him. And if son thinks in a different way, son has opposite views, then what I have, I say, what's wrong with my son? I don't like him anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, if the person, like, if you love God and the God doesn't help you in some reasons, you don't say that, oh, I don't love God anymore. So that kind of thing, that's what I was trying to express.
Yeah, you can apply it to God, but we would comment there that when someone says, I don't like God anywhere, that person's understanding of God is very limited.
Exactly, that's what I meant. Yeah.
That's another issue. Right. Yeah. So we sorted it out. So thank you all. We'll meet again. We'll send you emails and let you know when the next session is. Om Namo Narayanaya.